and this is how we became top 1% Ethereum 2 validators in 1 week. I'm David.
I'm Lawson, and we're going to talk about our experience becoming Ethereum 2 validators.
Yeah, so we started off in January when we got really into mining during the cryptocurrency craze, and we decided to do more research into the coins that we were mining, mainly Ethereum, and we found Ethereum 2 staking, and we thought that was a really interesting proposition. And so
then we decided to become Ethereum 2 validators after seeing some of the changes coming on with the Ethereum network, and we really think that proof of stake is really the future for crypto compared to proof of work like Bitcoin and like Ethereum currently is.
So what exactly is Ethereum 2.0 and what is staking? So staking is a new part of Ethereum 2.0, the next generation of Ethereum, which uses staking instead of miners. And what staking does is it creates a network of validators. And we can see here that the validators become beacon nodes. And through this, we replace miners with nodes that do much less intense calculations, creating more efficient and scalable output. What you do as a validator is you do transactional data just like a miner would, but now instead you stake your Ethereum into the network. And when you do a good transaction that gets approved by the network, you get Ethereum as a reward, and if you do a bad one, you get Ethereum taken away from you. So in this case, your Ethereum is put up in collateral. This is supposed to incentivize good actors on both sides.
So what do you need to become an Ethereum 2 validator? First and foremost, you need 32 Ethereum in a single hardware wallet. You also need a medium to high-end PC, which you're going to use as your Ethereum node and your validator. And so the recommended specs for this computer are not as insane as mining, but you need something with at least 16 gigs of RAM, a 2 terabyte hard drive, and a recent gen processor, preferably with more than 4 cores. And most importantly, you need to make sure that your storage is a 2 terabyte SSD, not a traditional hard drive. You also need to make sure that you have an internet connection that lets you do up to 600 gigabytes or more per month, because that's how much is used by the nodes. And it's best practice to have a firewall and a battery backup for all of your equipment, just in case, so you can keep your equipment up and running all the time. So the reason why you want to have the equipment that makes sure your computer stays up is that any negative time with your validator removes at the same rate that you would earn. So if the interest rate is currently 8.5% like it is right now, you would be losing 8.5% every single epoch that you are not validating. And so it's important that you keep your computer up as much as possible in order to maximize your earnings.
So this is the guide that we use to set up our own validator. So this is a coin cashew guide, and it has really detailed instructions from beginning to end of how to get started with your validator. For our setup, we started with a Dell server, which met all of the recommended hardware requirements. We have a 2 terabyte SSD, and we have 48 gigabytes of RAM. And so we installed Ubuntu server on our computer, which is the same as what's recommended by the guide, but you can use any Linux distribution just fine. Just know that some of the details of the commands and stuff may change a bit. And so once you have your base server set up, then the next thing to do is go through the install guide and set up your deposit keys, which are set up through a tool provided by the Ethereum Foundation. And so you go there, we did the deposit CLI and installed it on our machine, run the commands, it creates a wallet. And you have a mnemonic associated with that wallet, which is very important for when you want to withdraw the funds when it becomes an option to do so. And so you keep that very safe, write it down on a non-electronic form of media. And so in our setup, we chose 2 of the more popular clients. And so for Ethereum 1, for the Ethereum 1 node, we use Open Ethereum. But for our Ethereum 2 node, we use Prismatic Labs client. And so it's called Prism. And we used it because their documentation is very, very good. When we're new to this, it's really important to be able to have really detailed documentation. And going through, they have really good documentation on how to create your wallets, importing, exporting, and then also just the commands for running everything and backing up the database, which was super helpful for us getting going. And so once you set all of that up, then the best thing to do is to test it on the testnet first. And so CoinCashew has a guide for that as well. And so you can go up to the top of the mainnet guide, and they have a testnet guide. And so using the same base software, you can set up everything before you give your real 32 Ethereum. You can do it on the Go Early testnet. And we did that, and we ran it for about a week and a half on that to make sure that our server set up and our internet connection and everything was up to the task of running an Ethereum 2 validator. And so once we got it all set up, it went really smoothly.
So once you get the testnet set up, the coolest thing is that you can actually monitor it like you would at the mainnet. And this is really important for when we were testing out our redundancies and other things. We would actually have a Discord set up that would give us updates based off this. So the two main ways that we monitor our Ethereum 2 node is through Grafana here. It's really nice. There's presets that we can give you, but it's really easy to set up once you have it all. And there's lots of pre-built dashboards. And then the other one is straight from Ethereum 2.0 Foundation itself, is Beacon Chain. And so here you can find your basically address of your validator, and then it will show you all these things such as attestations, but also the most important is like overall income. You can see here, proposals. This is all our proposals, as well as when we deposited and other things. So this is just a great holistic way to look at it to make sure everything's working well, but we like Grafana to see these lines moving up.
So the scariest part of becoming a validator after you have moved on from your testnet process and you go to actually create your validator on the mainnet is that you have to deposit your 32 Ethereum, which currently being worth over $50,000 is a really scary part of the process. And so the Ethereum Foundation set up this launchpad to guide you through this process, and they made it as friendly as it could be, considering that it's a fairly complicated task. And so you go through and you have to accept all of their terms, knowing that you can't withdraw the funds right now until the chain is merged, the uptime requirements of your validator, and then also the penalties that might happen if you were to have a false setup or a malicious setup or something on your validator. And so you can select your clients. They link you to some install instructions, but if you follow the Coin Cashew guide, you can pretty much go through all of this already. And then you finally get to the point where you start actually setting up your validator deposits. So you choose your validators. If you're a high roller, maybe you can do more than one. Set your operating system. It is platform agnostic, so you could run your validator on any operating system. And then this link is what gets you the deposit CLI that's linked in the Coin Cashew guide that helps you set up your deposit. So in Coin Cashew, you've already done this if you follow those instructions. So you can click through, and then you upload that file that deposit CLI application creates, and that lets you continue on and actually do your transaction. So the next page you'll see after this is a thing that says it's waiting for your deposit. You can use MetaMask or any wallet to submit your deposit, and then it takes roughly 15 minutes for it to recognize that you've made a deposit, and it takes up to 12 to 16 hours for it to actually process that deposit and make you become a validator. And so you can monitor all of that on Beacon Chain. When you come here and you've just done your deposit, you'll only see this deposit page, and it'll show that it's pending, essentially, and you'll get status updates on the status of your deposit.
So how do we do our first week?
Phenomenal. So we earned $110 in our first week with 3 proposals and catapulting us up to the top 1% of all validators. However, this earnings is well above average, which is why we are in the top 1%, and this is why.
So proposals are assigned randomly to validators on the system. They're worth roughly 120 times more than just a testing, so it is incredibly valuable to be a proposer. The way that it proposes is it's a random chance. So it's 1 over the total number of proposers, which is around, or the number of validators, which is around 110,000 validators. So we got extremely lucky, and we'd be lucky to ever have this type of luck again.
But there was one hiccup in our first week, and that was that our apartment decided to change the internet setup on our second day of validating, meaning that for about 3 hours, we were scrambling to fix the connection. So we were trying to figure out our firewall. We had a VPN set up, and we were unplugging things, plugging them back in. And thankfully, we were able to keep the server connected for the most part, except for a 20-minute interval. And so we missed one attestation period, which lost us about 30 cents in Ethereum validating. But besides that one hiccup, our validating's gone smooth.
Yeah, so thanks for watching us. This is going to be our journey through becoming Ethereum 2 validator, so stay tuned for more updates. We are technically savvy people, but we're still new to crypto and a lot of these more technical aspects. So we're trying to be a good resource for people who are like us and kind of introduce you into more crypto news and stuff like that.
And if you're also new to crypto, we have a weekly newsletter called Block Bites, where we summarize the weekly news, show the biggest market moves, and add a little bit of small bits of crypto information that you can follow along with. So check out our website, datalesscrypto.com, and subscribe to our Block Bites newsletter.
Yeah, and be sure to comment if you want to see anything or have any questions for upcoming updates. Thanks for watching.
Thanks.